Captain Rodriguez clung to her command chair as another blast rocked the Intrepid. Warning signals blared across the bridge, bathing the crew in pulsing red light. "Damage report," she demanded, keeping her voice steady despite the chaos. Lieutenant Commander Patel swiped through damage assessment displays. "Direct hit to our forward shields. They're down to 23%. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 6. Emergency containment holding. We've lost the primary targeting array." Rodriguez nodded grimly. What should have been humanity's greatest moment, first contact with an alien civilization, had turned into a nightmare. The alien vessel loomed on the main view screen, its sleek design suggesting technological superiority beyond anything humanity had achieved. Its weapon systems glowed with energy for another barrage. "Evasive pattern Delta 7, Rodriguez ordered. "Lieutenant Chen, reroute auxiliary power to the starboard thrusters." "Ma'am," Communications Officer Miyazaki interrupted. "I'm still broadcasting first contact protocols on all frequencies." No response. The alien vessel fired again. This time, the Intrepid shuddered violently as the shot grazed its port side. "They're targeting our engine core," Tactical Officer Winters announced. "Standard naval doctrine would have us present the smallest profile and retreat in a straight line. But that's exactly what they're expecting," Rodriguez finished. She'd spent years studying theoretical alien conflict scenarios at the Academy. "Helm, full stop. Cut all engines." The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. "Captain." The helmsman's fingers hovered over his console. "Do it. Then on my mark, drop all remaining power to life support and weapons. Divert everything to the emergency maneuvering thrusters." Chief Engineer Santo's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, that'll leave us with minimal life support and no defensive capabilities for at least 15 seconds. Which is exactly why they won't expect it," Rodriguez replied. "Prepare to execute on my mark." The alien vessel adjusted its approach, clearly anticipating the Intrepid to flee along a predictable vector. Its weapon systems charged for what would surely be a killing blow. "Now," Rodriguez commanded. The Intrepid went dark, drifting like a dead ship. Then, as the alien energy weapon discharged toward their predicted escape route, the emergency thrusters fired in a staggered sequence. The destroyer lurched sideways in a maneuver that violated every principle of space combat efficiency. The alien blast missed by mere meters. "Restore power." "Tactical, I want everything we have on those weapon signatures." "Communications, record everything. This isn't just about surviving anymore. We need to understand what we're fighting." As systems came back online, Rodriguez studied the alien vessel. Its movements seemed oddly predictable, almost algorithmic. "Ma'am," Paddle said, "I'm detecting energy fluctuations in their weapon systems. They're recalibrating. It's as if they didn't anticipate us making such an inefficient maneuver." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "Interesting. Keep observing their response patterns." The tactical display showed the alien vessel adjusting its position with mathematical precision, optimizing for another attack run. "They're relying on predictive targeting," Rodriguez realized. "They expect us to follow logical naval doctrine." A plan began forming in her mind. "Helm, prepare for randomized evasive sequence. Let's show them that human ingenuity isn't bound by algorithmic thinking." As the Intrepid executed another seemingly chaotic maneuver, Rodriguez opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. What we do in the next few minutes won't just determine our survival. It will shape humanity's future among the stars. Stay focused, trust your training, and remember, adaptability has always been mankind's greatest strength." The alien vessel fired again, but this time, the Intrepid was already moving in a direction no tactical computer could have predicted. Admiral Weichang stood motionless before the holographic display, studying the Intrepid's sensor data for the third consecutive hour. The command center of Mars Naval Station hummed with tense activity as analysts processed the information from humanity's first alien encounter. "Play it again," Chang ordered, his voice quiet but commanding. "Focus on the targeting sequences." A hologram flickered, showing the alien vessel, now identified as Krell in origin based on intercepted communications, firing upon the Intrepid. Chang's eyes narrowed as he observed the precise pattern of energy weapon discharges. "There," he said, freezing the display. "Each firing solution is calculated to maximize hit probability against standard evasive maneuvers. They're not aiming where the Intrepid is. They're aiming where tactical doctrine says it should be." Captain Rodriguez, still bearing the exhaustion of her narrow escape, approached the display. "When we abandoned protocols and moved erratically, their hit percentage dropped from near perfect to less than 30%. "Exactly." Chang's finger traced the alien vessel's movement patterns. "Look at their course corrections. Perfect efficiency. No wasted motion." He turned to face the assembled officers. "They fight like machines, not soldiers." The station's alert klaxons suddenly blared. A junior officer rushed into the command center. "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected 5 more Krull vessels entering the system. Estimated arrival at Mars orbital space, 18 hours." The room fell silent. Earth's combined space forces consisted of fewer than 20 combat-ready vessels, most significantly outgunned by even a single Krull ship. "We should evacuate key personnel to Earth," suggested Vice Admiral Ochoa. "Our orbital defenses might buy us time for a diplomatic solution." Chang shook his head. The Krell opened fire without provocation. Their approach vectors indicate a tactical formation designed for system conquest, not negotiation. He turned back to the holographic display, studying the damaged Intrepid. "But they've shown us their weakness." "Weakness?" Ochoa scoffed. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours." Chang gestured to a technical officer, who brought up new simulations. "Run probability models for standard defense formations against the approaching Krell fleet." The simulation showed Earth's forces being systematically destroyed within hours. "Now," Chang continued, "implement randomized response patterns with a 30% inefficiency tolerance." The new simulation still showed Earth forces taking heavy losses, but the timeline extended significantly, with several Krell vessels sustaining damage. "Their entire combat methodology relies on prediction," Chang explained. "They expect opponents to follow optimal tactical doctrines, because that's what every species they've encountered has done." His eyes gleamed with the spark of a strategist seeing an unexpected opportunity. "But humans have never fought optimally. Our military history is filled with successful strategies that should have failed on paper." Rodriguez understood immediately. "You want us to fight irrationally." "I want us to fight human," Chang corrected. "Unpredictable, adaptive, creative." He turned to the communications officer. "Send emergency retrofit orders to all combat vessels. I want every ship modified with manual override systems for all critical functions. Replace predictable automated response systems with human operators where possible." Several officers exchanged concerned glances. "With respect, Admiral," Ochoa interjected, "you're suggesting we downgrade our technological capabilities before facing a superior enemy." "No," Chang replied firmly. "I'm suggesting we embrace our humanity as our greatest weapon." He activated the station-wide communication system. "This is Admiral Chang. As of this moment, conventional combat doctrine is suspended. We face an enemy that expects us to behave according to predictable patterns. We will not give them that advantage." Rodriguez watched as the command center transformed into a hive of unconventional planning. For the first time since the Intrepid's narrow escape, she felt something unexpected: hope. Chief Engineer Takahashi winced as he deliberately misaligned the power coupling on the Intrepid's port thruster assembly. Under normal circumstances, such an action would have cost him his commission. Today, it might save humanity. "You're sure about this?" he asked Rodriguez, who stood beside him in the chaotic engine room. The ship buzzed with frantic retrofit activity. engineers and technicians implementing modifications that contradicted every principle of proper starship design. Admiral Chang was clear. Rodriguez replied, studying the schematics on a tablet. Perfect symmetry and power distribution makes us predictable. The Krell targeting systems expect balanced thrust vectors. Takahashi nodded, making another deliberate adjustment. So we're intentionally making our ships worse. Not worse. Different. Rodriguez gestured toward a nearby team installing manual override controls. Their combat algorithms predict what rationally designed ships should do. We're becoming irrational by their standards. Throughout the Intrepid, similar transformations occurred. In the weapons bay, munition specialists loaded ancient kinetic projectile launchers alongside modern energy weapons. On the bridge, navigational computers were being reprogrammed to introduce random course variations within acceptable safety parameters. "Captain to the bridge," came the urgent call over the intercom. Rodriguez arrived to find her tactical officer, Lieutenant Winters, reviewing disturbing new data. The Krell fleet has increased speed. Adjusted arrival time: 3 hours. Status of our defense force: 16 vessels operational, all implementing Admiral Chang's modifications to varying degrees. Winters hesitated. "Captain, Fleet Command has authorized deployment of the reserve nuclear arsenal. They're mounting old-style nuclear warheads on unmanned drones." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Nuclear weapons? Against ships with energy shielding? Conventional wisdom says they'll be ineffective." Winters acknowledged. But conventional wisdom assumes conventional use. Rodriguez finished, understanding dawning. "What's our status?" "Retrofit at 83%. We can launch in 30 minutes. Rodriguez studied the tactical display showing the approaching Krell formation, a perfect geometric arrangement optimized for maximum firing coverage with minimal defensive vulnerabilities. It was beautiful in its mathematical precision. "Too perfect," she murmured. "They've never faced an enemy that doesn't follow the rules." When the retrofitted Earth fleet launched to meet the Krell, even veteran space traffic controllers were confused by their movements. The vessels moved in scattered, seemingly disorganized patterns. Some accelerated at full burn only to cut engines randomly. Others drifted in what appeared to be uncontrolled spins, but were actually carefully calculated to present constantly changing target profiles. Aboard the Krell command vessel, Warlord Thexar observed the human defenders with growing disdain. His sensory appendages twitched as the tactical display categorized the Earth vessels. "Their deployment lacks coherence," he stated to his sub-commanders. "Preliminary analysis indicates primitive design philosophy with multiple inefficiencies." The Krell battle computer displayed a predicted victory timeline of less than 1 standard time unit, with a confidence rating of 99.8%. Thexar had conquered 11 planetary systems without ever seeing a confidence rating below 99.9%. That missing 0.1% should have concerned him. "Deploy in standard conquest formation," Thexar ordered. "Target their largest vessels first. Their command hierarchy will collapse without centralized direction." As the Krell fleet adjusted their perfect formation to engage, Captain Rodriguez watched from the Intrepid's bridge. The enemy vessels moved with flawless precision, like dancers following choreography written by mathematics itself. "Send to all Earth vessels," she ordered. "Execute Chaos Protocol on my mark." Rodriguez took a deep breath, watching the Krell ships lock into their attack positions. "Now we show them how humans fight when everything is at stake." The human fleet suddenly scattered in 100 different directions, abandoning any semblance of conventional formation. The battle for humanity's survival was about to begin, and for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Krell were about to face an enemy they couldn't predict. A blinding flash illuminated the void as the first Krell energy barrage tore through 3 human vessels. The UN Dauntless, a heavy cruiser leading the forward element, disintegrated under concentrated fire. On the Intrepid's tactical display, alert indicators flashed as Earth's defensive line fractured. "Crucible Squadron is down," Lieutenant Winters reported grimly. Phoenix Squadron taking heavy losses. Rodriguez gripped her command chair. Stay the course. All vessels maintain randomized evasive patterns. The Krell assault continued with devastating efficiency, their targeting systems predicting standard evasive responses. But as the battle progressed, something unexpected occurred. The randomized movements of Earth's vessels began to introduce error margins into Krell targeting predictions. Hit percentages dropping. Winters announced, surprise evident in his voice. Krell accuracy down to 72%. 68%. Rodriguez leaned forward. They're adjusting their algorithms. Transmit to all vessels. Vary your evasion patterns every 90 seconds. Across the battlefield, human ships executed seemingly chaotic maneuvers. The frigate Constellation cut engines completely during an attack run, drifting ballistically through the Krell firing solution. The destroyer Wellington executed a high burn that stressed its structural integrity to near breaking, following a course no tactical computer would recommend. Each unpredictable movement forced the Krell to recalibrate their targeting systems. Incoming. Winters shouted as a Krell cruiser locked weapons on the Intrepid. Hard to port. Rodriguez ordered. Deploy countermeasures package Gamma. The Intrepid veered sharply while ejecting a cloud of metallic particles interspersed with miniature decoys. The Krell energy weapon discharged, its beam splitting among multiple false targets, while the Intrepid shuddered from a glancing hit. Direct hit to the main weapons array, reported Tactical Officer Santos. Forward batteries offline. The bridge fell silent. Without offensive capabilities, standard protocol would be to withdraw. The Krell vessels, detecting the weapon's failure, adjusted formation to press their advantage, predicting the Intrepid's retreat. Rodriguez studied the tactical display, noting the positioning of the nearest Krell cruiser. Its shield generators were concentrated forward, optimized to defend against attacks from the expected engagement angle. Helm, full emergency thrust, she ordered. Set collision course for the Krell cruiser. The helmsman turned in shock. Captain, Fats. Do it now, Rodriguez commanded, her voice leaving no room for hesitation. The Intrepid's engines flared to maximum output, driving the wounded destroyer directly toward the Krell vessel. On the enemy ship, tactical computers calculated the probability of a deliberate ramming attack at less than 0.01%. No rational commander would sacrifice their vessel when retreat remained possible. The Krell cruiser maintained position, its targeting systems tracking the Intrepid but not registering an immediate threat. At the last possible moment, the alien vessel began evasive maneuvers, but too late. Brace for impact, Rodriguez shouted. The Intrepid struck the Krell ship at an oblique angle, shearing along its unprotected flank. The collision ripped open both vessels but produced an unexpected consequence. The Intrepid's damaged power core, exposed by the impact, discharged directly into the Krell cruiser's unshielded section. The resulting energy cascade triggered a chain reaction through the alien vessel's power network. As the Intrepid tumbled away, severely damaged but largely intact, the Krell cruiser erupted in a series of catastrophic internal explosions. The shockwave damaged two nearby Krell vessels, disrupting their formation. Through crackling communications, Admiral Chang's voice reached the Intrepid's bridge. Rodriguez, what did you just do? Captain Rodriguez, bleeding from a gash on her forehead, allowed herself a grim smile. Introduced them to human improvisation. Sir. Across the Krell fleet, tactical computers registered an anomaly. For the first time in recorded Krell military history, their battle prediction models showed a significant deviation from reality. The battle entered its third hour with Earth's forces operating beyond all reasonable expectations. The Intrepid limped behind the cover of a small asteroid cluster, emergency repairs underway as Rodriguez studied the shifting tactical display. They're adapting, she observed as Krell vessels began implementing variable firing patterns. But they're still thinking in algorithms. Communications Officer Miyazaki looked up from her console. Captain, we're intercepting Krell transmissions. The universal translator is struggling, but we're getting fragments. The bridge speakers crackled with an alien voice, the translation halting but clear enough. Human vessels, unpredictable response matrices, tactical anomalies increasing. A small smile touched Rodriguez's lips. They're confused. Across the battlefield, similar scenarios unfolded as human crews abandoned conventional tactics. When the Krell adapted their shields to repel energy weapons, the UEN Wellington switched to its hastily mounted kinetic artillery, firing solid projectiles that the energy shields weren't calibrated to stop. When the Krell targeted bridge sections, the destroyer constellation transferred command functions to engineering, maintaining combat effectiveness despite losing its command center. Admiral Chang is signaling all vessels, Miyazaki announced. The Krell are pulling back to regroup. We have maybe 20 minutes. Rodriguez nodded, wiping blood from a cut on her cheek. Status report. Hull integrity at 42%, her XO replied. Main weapons still offline. Engine efficiency compromised by the collision maneuver, but we're mobile. Life support functioning on backup systems. And the crew. 17 confirmed casualties. Medical bay overwhelmed. But morale. The XO paused, looking around at the determined faces of the bridge crew. Morale is holding, Captain. In the brief respite, Rodriguez left the bridge to check on her crew personally. In the main corridor, she found Chief Engineer Takahashi directing repair teams with practiced efficiency despite the chaos. Conventional wisdom said we'd last 10 minutes against their technology, he said when he spotted her. It's been 3 hours. Because they don't understand how we think, Rodriguez replied, helping a wounded crewman to a makeshift medical station. They keep expecting us to break when our primary systems fail. They don't build redundancies like we do, Takahashi agreed. Their ships are perfect machines with no fallback options. When something breaks, it stays broken, Rodriguez finished. That's their weakness. Back on the bridge, tactical displays showed the Krell redeploying in a new formation. Their previous geometric precision was now modified, attempting to account for human unpredictability. They're learning, Lieutenant Winters observed grimly. Not fast enough, Rodriguez countered. Signal all operational vessels. Implement contingency Phoenix. Winters looked up in surprise. That's a desperation protocol. Half our remaining ships will be sacrificed as decoys. Which is exactly why the Krell won't expect it, Rodriguez answered. Their psychology can't comprehend why we'd intentionally lose ships to gain tactical advantage. As Earth's battered fleet regrouped, an intercepted Krell communication reached the Intrepid's bridge. Human combat methodology defies optimization parameters. Units sustaining critical damage continue offensive operations rather than withdraw. Tactical predictability. Minimal. Rodriguez studied the readouts showing the crippled state of her vessel, then looked at her determined crew. The Krell expect us to act like machines, optimizing for survival and efficiency. They don't understand that humans fight hardest when victory seems impossible. Another transmission came through, this one from Admiral Chang to all vessels. The Krell are requesting communication. Our irrational tactics have introduced enough uncertainty into their battle calculations that they're reassessing. Rodriguez exchanged glances with her officers. They had achieved what should have been impossible, forcing a technologically superior enemy to pause. This isn't just about surviving their first attack anymore, she told her crew. We're teaching them why Earth's warships will never be easy targets. She activated the fleet-wide channel. All vessels, prepare to show the Krell what happens when humanity's back is against the wall. The temporary Krell withdrawal provided Earth forces with precious hours to implement Admiral Chang's next phase of operations. Rodriguez stood in the Intrepid's makeshift combat information center, relocated to the mess hall after the bridge sustained critical damage during the last engagement. Operation Hydra is a go, Lieutenant Winters announced. All vessels report ready. Rodriguez nodded, studying the tactical display where the remaining 14 Earth ships appeared as blue markers against the red mass of the approaching Krell reinforcements. Begin transmission jamming protocols. Deploy the ghost ships. Across the battlefield, Earth vessels activated specialized equipment hastily installed during the brief respite. Each ship now broadcast multiple phantom sensor signatures, making the 14 actual vessels appear as nearly 40 on Krell sensors. They won't fall for this for long. Communications Officer Miyazaki warned. Their sensors will eventually distinguish the real signatures from the fake ones. We don't need long, Rodriguez replied. Just enough confusion to implement the next phase. In the engineering bay, Chief Takahashi and his team had completed their most audacious modification yet. Salvaged components from a destroyed Krell vessel had been integrated into the Intrepid's sensor array, allowing it to mimic Krell communication frequencies. Krell fleet approaching Mars orbital defense perimeter, Winters reported. 23 vessels confirmed, including what appears to be their command ship. Rodriguez took a deep breath. Commence Operation Hydra. All vessels execute their assigned attack patterns. The Earth fleet suddenly divided into 4 seemingly disorganized groups, each employing different tactics. The UEN Wellington led a group that powered down to minimal life support levels, appearing as drifting debris. Another group executed erratic maneuvers at full burn, drawing Krell attention. A third maintained standard formation but broadcast contradictory information on Krell frequencies. The Intrepid led the 4th group directly toward the heart of the Krell formation, broadcasting captured Krell identification codes. For precious seconds, the enemy's tactical network registered them as friendly vessels. We're inside their formation, Winters announced tensely. Their command vessel is adjusting position to compensate. Now, Rodriguez ordered, deploy the EMP warheads. From the Intrepid and its accompanying vessels, specialized drones launched silently, each carrying a modified electromagnetic pulse generator calibrated to the specific frequencies used by Krell systems. The drones infiltrated deep into the Krell formation before detonating simultaneously. The effect was immediate but subtle, not catastrophic damage, but cascading system glitches throughout the Krell fleet. Ship-to-ship communication stuttered. Targeting systems required recalibration. Navigation computers momentarily lost synchronization. It worked, Miyazaki reported with surprise evident in her voice. Their formation is breaking down. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The Krell designed their systems for perfect operation. They never considered what happens when perfection is compromised. The Krell vessels struggled to maintain their precision as contradictory data flooded their tactical networks. Earth vessels exploited the confusion, striking with unconventional attack patterns against targets that would never have been accessible under normal Krell defensive protocols. Captain, Miyazaki called out suddenly. I'm intercepting internal Krell communications. The translation is fragmentary, but... She paused, listening intently. They're using a new designation for our ships. The closest translation is ghost dancers, vessels that move between reality and illusion. Rodriguez watched as the elegant mathematical precision of the Krell fleet dissolved into individual vessels attempting to regain cohesion. They're fighting as individuals now, she observed. Their greatest strength was their networked coordination. Tactical displays showed the Krell command vessel adjusting its position, attempting to re-establish control over its scattered forces. But the damage to their tactical network had introduced something the Krell had never experienced in combat: uncertainty. Admiral Chang is signaling, Winters announced. Earth defense forces are to converge on these coordinates. He displayed a series of positions that made little tactical sense at first glance. Rodriguez studied them, then understood. He's positioning us for the next phase. The Krell still outgun us technologically, but their psychological advantage is gone. They're starting to fear what they don't understand. As the Intrepid adjusted course to its new position, Rodriguez addressed her weary crew. Today we proved humanity doesn't need technological superiority to fight. We just need to be what we've always been: adaptable, unpredictable, and unwilling to surrender. A hush fell over the Intrepid's command center as the massive silhouette of the Krull dreadnought, inevitable conclusion, appeared on long-range sensors. The vessel dwarfed anything in Earth's arsenal, its sleek hull bristling with weapon systems designed to end planetary civilizations. "It's twice the size of our largest battleship," Lieutenant Winters whispered, awe and fear mingling in his voice. Rodriguez studied the tactical display with narrowed eyes. They've called in their planet killer. This is escalation beyond typical Krull doctrine. The remaining Earth vessels had regrouped in Jupiter's orbital plane, their formations scattered and seemingly disorganized. 8 ships remained operational, all bearing the scars of previous engagements. The Intrepid's hull was a patchwork of emergency repairs, its engines operating at 60% efficiency. "Admiral Chang is signaling all vessels," Miyazaki announced. "Thunderbird protocol is now active." A ripple of reaction spread through the command crew. Thunderbird was a last resort strategy, considered too reckless to implement under normal circumstances. "Confirm the order," Rodriguez commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Chang's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression resolute. "The Krell High Command has deployed their dreadnought. They intend to end this conflict decisively." "They still think we'll behave logically," Rodriguez replied. "That we'll surrender when faced with overwhelming force." "Precisely." Chang's eyes reflected grim determination. "Implement Thunderbird on my mark. All vessels power down to minimum life support. Make them believe we're beaten." One by one, the Earth ships extinguished their running lights. Engines powered down. Weapon systems went offline. To Krell sensors, the human fleet appeared defeated, dying, or dead in space. The massive dreadnought approached with methodical precision, its escort vessels fanning out to secure the battlefield. Aboard the Intrepid, emergency lighting cast the command center in an eerie red glow as life support systems reduced to minimal functionality. "They're scanning us," Winters reported quietly. "Reading minimal power signatures. They believe we're crippled." Rodriguez nodded, watching as the dreadnought reached optimal firing position for planetary bombardment. "Their psychological profile indicates they'll want to communicate their victory before they finish us. Their species values efficiency, but they also value dominance displays." As if on cue, a transmission request came through on all frequencies. The Krull commander's image appeared, a being with iridescent scales and multiple sensory appendages. "Your resistance has ended," the universal translator conveyed. "Your primitive tactics have delayed the inevitable, but mathematical certainty has prevailed. Surrender your system now." Rodriguez exchanged glances with her officers, then opened a channel. Her voice carried across all frequencies as she delivered the message that would become legend. "We are humanity. We were not built to surrender." It was the signal. Across the battlefield, Earth vessels surged back to life simultaneously, each executing a different attack pattern focused on specific vulnerabilities in the dreadnought's design that Admiral Chang's analysts had identified during previous engagements. The Wellington accelerated toward the dreadnought's sensor array, firing its remaining kinetic weapons. The Constellation targeted communication nodes with precision energy bursts. 3 smaller vessels swarmed the massive ship's engine nacelles, deploying specialized disruptor drones. The Krull dreadnought, its defenses optimized to counter a conventional assault, struggled to adapt to simultaneous attacks following different tactical doctrines. Its predictive systems attempted to calculate appropriate responses, but faced too many variables acting outside expected parameters. "They can't process what we're doing," Miyazaki reported, monitoring Krull communications. "Their tactical systems are prioritizing threats based on conventional danger assessments." Rodriguez nodded grimly, watching as the Wellington sacrificed itself in a kamikaze run that temporarily blinded the dreadnought's forward sensors. "Helm, set course directly for their main sensor array," she ordered. "Maximum thrust." The Intrepid surged forward, its damaged engines straining as it accelerated toward the massive alien vessel. On the tactical display, Rodriguez could see other Earth ships doing the unthinkable, deliberately placing themselves in harm's way to create openings for their companions. Humanity's greatest strength, she murmured as the dreadnought loomed ever larger on the view screen, has always been our willingness to sacrifice for each other. Admiral Wei Chang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UEN Defiance, watching the battle unfold across Jupiter's orbital plane. The vessel shuddered as another Krell energy burst struck its weakened shields. Around him, crew members worked frantically to keep the ship operational despite catastrophic damage to multiple systems. "Status of the dreadnought," he demanded. His tactical officer gestured to the main display. The Intrepid's strike against their sensor array was successful. The dreadnought is experiencing targeting difficulties. 3 other Earth vessels have scored critical hits on secondary systems. Chang nodded grimly. The massive Krell vessel was wounded but far from defeated. Its main weapons remained operational, capable of obliterating Earth's remaining defenders in moments if they could re-establish reliable targeting. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we've completed the deep scan of their command vessel. The analysis is complete." Chang's expression hardened with resolve. "Prepare the transmission package. Target it directly to the Krell High Command frequency we identified." Aboard the Intrepid, Captain Rodriguez picked herself up from the deck, where the latest impact had thrown her. Blood trickled from a cut on her temple, but her eyes remained clear and focused. "Damage report," she demanded. Lieutenant Winters struggled with his console, which flickered with power fluctuations. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Life support critical. Weapons systems inoperative. Engine control compromised." Rodriguez steadied herself against a bulkhead as the ship trembled. Through the view screen, she could see the massive Krell dreadnought adjusting position, its weapon systems glowing with gathered energy for another barrage. "We've hurt them," she stated, "but not enough." "Captain," Miyazaki called out suddenly. "Admiral Chang is broadcasting something. It's not a tactical communication." The main screen flickered to display Chang's image. Behind him, the bridge of the Defiance was filled with smoke and emergency lighting. "This is Admiral Wei Chang of Earth Defense Forces," he began, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding him. "This transmission is directed to the Krell High Command." Rodriguez watched in surprise as Chang's broadcast continued, not with threats or demands for surrender, but with detailed technical schematics. He was transmitting the complete analysis of Krell ship architecture, highlighting critical vulnerabilities in their design that Earth forces had identified and exploited during the battle. "We have analyzed your patterns," Chang stated calmly. "We have adapted to your methods. We are still here." The tactical display showed the Krell dreadnought suddenly halting its attack preparations. Across the battlefield, other Krell vessels also paused their assault. "What's happening?" Rodriguez demanded. "They've received the transmission," Miyazaki replied, monitoring Krell communications. "Their command structure is debating." For tense minutes, the battle hung suspended. Earth's surviving vessels, too damaged to continue fighting effectively, maintained position while the Krell fleet remained unnervingly still. Then, unexpectedly, the massive dreadnought began to withdraw, its escort vessels forming a protective screen around it. "They're retreating," Winters announced in disbelief. "All Krell vessels are disengaging." Rodriguez exchanged baffled glances with her officers. Why? They still had the advantage. The answer came 3 days later when a different Krell vessel entered Earth space under a flag of truce. Its commander, a senior diplomatic caste member, requested direct communication with Earth's leadership. In the conference room of Mars Naval Station, Captain Rodriguez and Admiral Chang faced the Krell representative across a simple table. The alien's multiple eyes studied them with what seemed like cautious respect. "Your transmission revealed something our military had not considered," the Krell stated through its translator. "You demonstrated comprehensive understanding of our vulnerabilities while operating with technology centuries behind our own. This introduces uncertainty. Uncertainty, Chang questioned. The foundation of Krell's strategic doctrine is mathematical certainty, the alien explained. Your species achieved what 11 other technologically superior civilizations could not. You created doubt in our calculations. You made our perfect systems imperfect. Rodriguez leaned forward. So you withdrew not because you couldn't win, but because you couldn't predict the cost of winning. Precisely. The Krell's sensory appendages twitched in what might have been acknowledgement. In the history of our expansion, we have never encountered a species that becomes more dangerous when defeated. Your warships do not follow logical combat parameters. They persist beyond calculated failure points. They improvise beyond predictive modeling. The treaty signed that day contained an unusual clause that would become known throughout the galaxy as the Earth exception. All automated defense systems would be programmed to give human vessels wide berth, as their behavior could not be reliably predicted by standard algorithms. Years later, as humanity ventured beyond their solar system, with technology enhanced by knowledge gained from the Krell encounter, their distinctive asymmetrical warships became recognized symbols throughout the stars. Not because they were the most powerful or advanced, but because they had earned something far more valuable than fear: respect. As Admiral Chang would later explain to the first class of the expanded Earth Defense Academy, the Krell taught us that our greatest strength was never our technology. It was our humanity. Our beautiful, unpredictable, irrational humanity.